Hey, welcome to Uncommon State of Mind, where we debate different ways to leverage your next investment to create time freedom, legacy impact, and generational wealth. That way you can live that uncommon life, but in order to do that, you must be uncommon. My name is Joey, aka Mr. J Mays.
Hey, and I'm AD, also known as AD the Fly Realtor.
Yeah, so there's been some interesting things going on in the real estate world that I'm completely unfamiliar to. So AD's about to educate me a little bit about like the lawsuit that just came forward. What was the
Yeah. So some of you may have heard, especially if you're in or around or interested in real estate. There was a lawsuit against NAR, which is the National Association of Realtors, or one of the biggest trade groups in the country. The lawsuit was pretty much in regards to how agents get paid, specifically the buyer's agent. So traditionally, I know a lot of people, especially if you haven't purchased a home, may not know this. But traditionally, what it is that when I come to you to try to sell your property, we agree on a price that the property will be listed for, and then we also agree on commission. The standard commission in the industry is 6%. That 6% will then be split between the seller's agent and the buyer's agent based on what kind of split the seller's agent or the seller's broker decided they're going to go with. So, in LA, the going rate would be 3.5 for the buyer, 3.5 for the seller's agent, 2.5 for the buyer's agent. Or you could do 3% and 3%, so on and so forth, whatever works best.
right?
But so that's where the issue is right there. So one issue is the lawsuit was pretty much pointing towards sellers didn't feel that they should be paying for the buyer's agent. And then two, sellers felt like they didn't have a choice about how much that commission percentage was.
Okay.
So those are the primary points of the lawsuit. So all I want to dig into today is just a little bit of what those changes are going to be now that the lawsuit has, pretty much, went into effect. Like most of the aftermath from that, I think we've experienced.
So you're saying sellers, as in the person who's about to sell their home,
Exactly.
they're like, you know what? I don't feel like I need to be paying
Like I
this.
should be paying for the buyer's agent.
Got it.
You know what I'm
Got
saying? So, and it may be a valid point. Let's go into it a little bit. All
Okay,
right?
for sure.
So just off that, do you have any questions in regards to
I mean,
that?
I can understand that. I can understand like from somebody who's buying, like, yeah, I only want to pay for my agent, and why do I have to pay for the buyer's agent as well? You know what I mean?
Right.
But yeah, I'm curious to learn more and kind of to pick your brain on this and what you think about it, because it's going to help me shape kind of my opinion about it, to be honest with you.
Most definitely, I get you. All right, so I'm gonna do my best to be as unbiased as possible, but that's all I ever do. All right, might tell you a joke, I won't tell you no lie. But so anyways, so in a nutshell, yeah, like I said, the going rate has always been that 6%. It's just industry standard.
Right.
But as far as NAR is concerned and all realtors, that amount has actually always been negotiable. You don't have to agree to 6%. There are a lot of people. I've been a part of transactions and I've put in offers on properties where the commission, the split wasn't between 6%. So it's not cut and dry where it has to be 6. That's always been negotiable. Maybe the thing is that a lot of agents, especially high profile agents who get most of the listings, 20% of agents, I think it's 10% of the agents get 90% of the business.
Wow.
You know what I mean? So that 10%, they're not no, I'm not dropping my commission rate.
Right.
You know what I mean? It's negotiable. If you don't want to pay that much, then find another agent who you will be with. But, that's one thing there. So for NAR's side, they're like, well, it's always been negotiable. Just because nobody would do it at a lower rate doesn't mean it's not negotiable. Mm-hmm. And then two, in regards to paying the buyer's agent, that's a big deal. And like you said, I do get how somebody could be like, well, why should I pay for somebody else to be able to, have the help they need to buy a property? Mm-hmm. But one thing about that is that people who don't have a buyer's agent are looking on their own. And those, a lot of times, standard people aren't that equipped to, you know, unless they're doing their own research and learning what they need to be looking for. They're not equipped to just buy a property and then be ready for the things that may come with purchasing that property. You know what I mean? So, but then another issue that brings is that if buyer's agents aren't getting paid through the commission of the sale, that means that they would have to get paid from the buyer.
That makes sense.
Out of pocket, because one tricky thing is that you can't get agent fees put into your loan. You know what I mean? So when you save up your money, you got your down payment, you got your closing costs, and you got approved for this loan, you got pre-qualified, pre-approved. You're like, all right, let's hit the streets. Let's go buy a property. If your agent finds a property where they get no commission on, you know, like how are they going to get paid? That means it has to come from you. But the cold part is you can't factor in agent fees into your loan.
Right.
So you can't get that finance. So that means it literally has to come out of pocket.
I see what you're saying.
You know what I mean?
So that's tough because
exactly.
that means you're gonna have to just calculate a bigger number when you're going in to purchase property.
Your money. Yeah, exactly. And see that, to me, like, all right, so I'm a millennial, you're a millennial, you know what I mean? A lot of millennials right now are buying their first property, maybe their second property.
Right.
You know, but, and then also when you think about our community, like the Black community, like home ownership and purchasing homes is something that can be an issue, especially in cities with high costs.
Right.
So now it's just creating another barrier to entry for buyers to try and get into a property, which I think is the biggest issue, because the only people who are really going to, you know, benefit from this are people who can pay a buyer's agent out of pocket.
Right.
You know what I mean? But then here's the cold part. Another thing that it does is that,
so ultimately that means that's less business for buyer's agents. You know, that makes it a lot more scarce.
It makes it a lot more scarce, and then it's going to be, you know, the same kind of people buying properties on a regular basis,
right,
if that's the case. So I mean, pretty much we'll get into that shortly after the results of the lawsuit, or now the current effects. But also, so then I want to point out too that, you know, if the home is not offering a commission for the buyer's agent, but then the person who's looking to buy a home has an agent, they're going to look for the property that has a commission, you know what I mean? So that they could get paid. So what that does is it limits the competition of offers on your property already. So what that can also then do is maybe have people put in lower offers because they're not competing with anybody.
That makes sense.
You know, so it would essentially take away the ability, or take away part of the ability to have, you know, a bidding war. You know what I mean?
So then that kind of hits the entire industry.
That hurts the seller itself. So it's like the thing that was supposed to help the seller, it's actually like gonna hurt you more, because less people actually there's less eyeballs on your listing now.
That makes sense. So I mean, yeah, man. If I had an opinion, the reason why like you said, you would get into a bidding war, and you can probably get your home, you know, sold for over asking price, because you know that little piece is there. You're paying the buyer's agent, right? So now, you know, maybe you know, you're paying the buyer's agent a decent 6% or 3.5% or whatever it is, but you got your house, you know, sold for over like $200,000 or $100,000 than asking price.
And that's what that tends. And it's funny because there's always this like, oh, you can save money without an agent. But more often than not, you're saving yourself money by having an agent. You know what I mean? If you're the seller, because like a decent enough agent is going to be able to get a good amount of eyeballs on your listing. If you're a buyer, a good enough agent is able to let you know what you should and should not be looking out for. They can find a property and help figure out the issues with that property. So, and if there's issues, it doesn't necessarily mean you won't buy it, but it just means you have to be aware so you know what you need to do once that property is under ownership.
Right.
So either way, it's like there's not much win-win outside of being able to tell people like, oh, you know what, we saved you money because you don't pay for the buyer's agent anymore. It's like, okay, I may not do that, but now I paid for it with the net proceeds.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? So that's the crazy part. That's like one thing that's really interesting about it.
Yeah, man, that is interesting. So how long has it been in court?
I mean, it's been, I don't know the exact year. I don't want to just pull out a year, but I know like the last few years it was like being brought up, and then it started gaining steam. And I've heard from other like industry experts who like have been in or around real estate a lot longer than me that like it's something that's been brought up and talked about throughout the years,
Right.
but it always ends up like getting killed and died down.
Right.
You know, this one is the one that actually just happened to stick. And, you know, the lawsuit made it all the way to the Supreme Court and they ruled, you know what I mean? So like the brokerages, National Association of Realtors, all lost. Wow. You know what I mean? So like now,
this is, I feel a little uneasy about this.
Right.
I only do because I think about like, you know, housing back in the day when, you know, houses were affordable, and, you know, now that we're millennials and we're looking to buy our own spaces and things of that nature, all of a sudden housing prices are through the roof, and, you know, we're like, how the heck you guys are spending $50,000 getting like a 4-bedroom, 5-bath, and we're of that age to buy houses, we have to pay $800K or something like that.
Out.
So now I feel like it's the same situation when it comes to
just making it harder.
Like you endured the easy time where, and now you know you have a bunch of people like in bidding wars for a specific listing or specific property, and you can have that because you know that the seller is going to pay the buyer's agent. Now you're taking that away, and you're going to make it harder.
Make it even harder.
Yeah, for folks coming up. That's crazy.
Yeah, and it's like, and you can even say that some will say, oh, well, people are making more money than they were back then. The rate at which inflation hit, the inflation rate has outpaced wage growth.
Oh yeah.
So what I'm saying is the comparison or percentage that people used to make several decades ago to how much things cost have outpaced the wage growth. Yeah, so easily. People aren't making as much in comparison to how much things cost than they were back then. So it's like, on top of the fact that it was super cheap, the income was more in comparison to now. So
your dollar got way further.
Exactly. It's not just a matter of, oh, like the house costs more, but how much I make went up too. It's like, no, the house costs way more and how much I make went up a little bit. You know what I mean? So when you factor in all these things, it's like, I just hope this doesn't cause a slippery slope where they continue on this trend or path where it does get harder and harder for buyers to buy property.
Well, then why would you? I mean, you're just gonna have like if buyers can't make money, like you said 10% of the actual professionals in this industry get 90% of the business. The rest it's just gonna kill down or kill off any type of competition. You know what I'm saying?
Exactly.
Because it's gonna be so hard. The barrier to entry is gonna be so hard that you're just gonna be like, you know what? Let me do something else.
Exactly, and that's really what happened.
Maybe that's what they want. You know what I'm saying?
Who knows? Maybe. I mean, the good thing overall is that as of right now, it does seem like most people are still going to have buyer's commissions. All it means is that the results of the lawsuit is the brokerages and NAR had to pay a bunch of money, pretty much. But then also the commission for the buyer's agent is not able to be posted on any property listing.
Okay.
So now that means like, okay, if I see the property, I just have to call up the seller's agent and say, hey, what's the commission? And then once you know the commission, you move forward. Mm-hmm. So it's not all horrible. You know, there's still ways around it, but I just don't know about what kind of future trends this will lead to down the line, because at least as of right now, it just seems like the more time goes on, the harder and harder it gets for your everyday person to be able to buy a property.
Right.
You know what I mean? Right. So we'll see what happens. And, you know, Uncommon will be here to fill you in when it does.
Indeed. Like, I'm a short-term rental guy, so I'm not too familiar with the ins and outs, and I do arbitrage as well. So, like, I'm not too familiar when it comes to this specific part of the game. That's why we have our a real estate pro here. You go ahead and bet.
Right. Exactly.
So,
no, but I'm glad we were able to get into that, because it is important to know. It may not affect the everyday person that much, but still it's good to know whether you're selling a property or buying a property that these are, different aspects of that conversation.
And AD's got our B for today.
Yeah, and for the B for today is gonna be ready. Being ready, you know what it is, man. Like, just get the info you need and be aware of what's going on, so that when you hit the market or you hit your realtor, you're ready to go make a move. You know what's going on and you know how to approach things. Whether that means you do need to have your down payment money, or not down payment money, you do need to have your agent's commission money, or whatever it may be. Just be ready for that. You know what I mean?
Yeah, so be ready, be you, and be uncommon.
Right.
Stay up.